Midday, Queensland police shoot a man dead on the Gold Coast. It's the second fatal police shooting in 2 days. First time at the dance, Medibank Private makes its stock market debut. Community tension in the US, a grand jury to reveal the fate of a policeman who killed a black teenager. Good afternoon, you're watching ABC News. I'm Ros Childs. Also ahead on the programme. A key drug use report shows smokers are more likely to take part in risky drinking and illicit drug use. And still hopeful, Michael Clark ruled out of a tour match, but looking to play in next week's first test. A man has been shot dead by police on the Gold Coast, the second fatal police shooting in Queensland in as many days and the third in a week. Police say the man, believed to be in his 30s, was armed with a knife and lunged at officers. He suffered a cardiac arrest and died at the scene. Here's reporter Andre Withy. So, Andre, what were the circumstances that led to this latest shooting?
Well, police were called to a domestic disturbance. They turned up there, they yelled at the man to drop his knife and to lay on the ground, but he kept coming towards them, so they shot him. He died at the scene. The day before, there was another incident where police were called to a domestic disturbance at Tewantin on the Sunshine Coast. Just as they pulled up, the man came rushing towards him. They say that they had no option but to fire at the man, that tasers weren't an option. They shot him and he also died at the scene. It's the sixth fatal shooting in Queensland in the southeast since April this year.
And what's the police service and the police union saying about this spike?
Well, the police commissioner says Queensland police are not trigger happy. He says that he wants a review into these latest incidents. The police union, Ian Levers, he's saying that police are put in a very difficult circumstance. They're doing what they're trained to do.
Ah, here they come, with the white ribbons.
A roar fills the airwaves above the house and a din fills the airwaves around it. Funding for the national broadcaster is a live debate in Canberra.
This is not our ABC anymore, it's a Sydney-centric ABC.
The ABC yesterday announced up to 400 jobs would go in response to a $250 million budget cut. Radio National's Bush Telegraph program is being axed, so too a number of regional news outposts.
And I think in this particular case, perhaps they're making a political point and decided to cause as much difficulty for regional MPs as they could.
Most of the regions are represented by members of the Liberal and National parties, and if the reported cuts to the regions are accurate, then it could almost be seen as a sort of a payback.
Regional MPs are on the warpath, demanding the ABC protect local services.
We've seen members of the government, backbenchers as well as frontbenchers, doing petitions, writing letters to Mark Scott, all this feigned indignation.
Labor blames the government.
How are you?
Lovely to see you.
Good to see you too.
For what it says is a broken promise. Coalition MPs are also ruining Tony Abbott's election eve commitment of no cuts to the broadcasters.
The comments are unfortunate and it puts us in a difficult position, but we are entrusted to run the nation.
If you want to know who to blame for this, blame the people who put ourselves in this budget position, and that was the Labor Party.
There have been several rallies around the country in support of the ABC and demanding the government reverse its budget cuts. Labor says funding for the broadcaster will go up if it wins the election, but it's not yet offering a timeline or a dollar figure. That will come later.
We'll need to see what the state of the ABC is, in addition to the state of the books.
A keen audience awaits the detail. Simon Cullen, ABC News, Canberra.
The governor of the US state of Missouri has called for peace ahead of a grand jury decision on the fate of a police officer who killed an unarmed black teenager. 18-year-old Michael Brown was shot by a white officer in August, sparking weeks of sometimes violent protests. A grand jury has determined whether the officer will face charges, and its decision is to be announced shortly.
Together, we are all focused on making sure the necessary resources are at hand to protect lives, protect property, and protect free speech.
In the town of Ferguson, some schools have been closed and many shops are shut in case there is violence.
Could these two hold the key to finding a cure for Ebola? Fanta and Jules survived the virus, which means their blood carries rare antibodies capable of fighting the disease. But they had a narrow escape.
I even asked a man at the hospital to tell my mom not to cry much when I die, because it is the will of God.
This is where Fanta was treated. And it's where survivors like her are due to start donating blood next month. Medics here will take blood from recovered patients and use it to give transfusions to sick patients. It's hoped the antibodies that successfully fought off the virus in the donor will do the same in the recipient. But such procedures could prove controversial in a land where some still don't believe Ebola exists.
We will also communicate within the media just to inform the people about what is going on here, just to avoid that people are fearing or crying, thinking that we are making some experimentation on people. And also, for sure, we will do it with the approval of each patient.
Trials are due to start here next month, but trying to find a cure for Ebola in the midst of this unprecedented outbreak, when there's so much mistrust, is going to be a huge task. So getting communities engaged in what's happening here is crucial.
There's always a question of our culture, but given that this Ebola outbreak is an emergency, I think we can put cultural issues aside.
The only problem is that people would need to be educated on this just to make them feel at ease and confident about donating their blood.
If donating my blood will save others from dying, then it will be an honor to do it.
Planning for these trials is in the early stages, and experts warn they may not provide the answers the world is looking for. But they do at least offer a glimmer of hope.
Water robots have given the first accurate look at sea ice thickness in Antarctica. The study found ice in some areas was up to 16 metres thick. It's hoped the method and results will provide a benchmark for measuring sea ice in the future and act as an important flag for climate change.
An underwater robot started measuring Antarctic sea ice thickness 4 years ago. It's the first accurate look at how thick the ice surrounding the continent is.
We had average flow thicknesses between 1.5 to up to 5 metres, and in places the thickness was over 10 metres to a maximum of 16.
The robot was deployed in East and West Antarctica, using an upward-facing sonar to map the underside of sea ice. Previously, ice thickness in the area was measured in a less precise way, like looking over the side of an icebreaker and taking a visual estimate.
And we also spend many hours drilling many holes through the ice, and that's very labour intensive.
Both methods had their limitations.
Very hard work, and also probably biased towards thin ice. The ship likes to go through thin ice on its way to Antarctica, and there are limits to what a human can drill.
Scientists from the UK, USA and Australia have been working on the project.
And it illustrates the importance of actually bringing collaborations like this to bear.
When measured from space, the area Antarctic sea ice covers is actually increasing. Climate change skeptics have used that to discredit global warming. Scientists say having a uniform way to measure ice thickness will help complete the picture.
Exactly. At the moment, we can only take large-scale measurements from space of actually the spread or extent of sea ice. We can't measure its thickness, and that's why this study is so important.
It's hoped the underwater vehicle will become the standard way to measure ice thickness in Antarctica. Richard Baines, ABC News.
We've seen the health insurer Medibank Private has floated today. Our markets reporter Alicia Barry has been tracking the stock's debut down at the ASX in Sydney. So, Alicia, a good start for the new stock on the block.
Ros, it certainly has been a good start. Medibank Private shares hit the boards at $2.22 a share, well above the price that retail investors paid for them at $2 each.
Let's take a look at the national weather now. Here's Vanessa O'Hanlon.
On the satellite image, we're looking at a lot of cloud building up around the top end and the Kimberley. And with all of this cloud, we are finally starting to see cooler temperatures through the Northern Territory and also starting to see signs of fairly good rainfalls for both the top end and the Kimberley. This cloud is extending along a trough all the way into northeastern New South Wales with severe thunderstorms in that region again this afternoon throughout the evening. A high is driving showers up along areas of the Queensland coast, mainly affecting the northern and central areas. And there is another trough in Western Australia that's causing stormy weather from the Kimberley to Geraldton, but also drawing that heat down into the south. Perth heading for a top of 36 degrees, 10 degrees above average. We'll continue to see hot weather there tomorrow. 22 degrees, partly cloudy for Adelaide. A few showers around Melbourne, Hobart, and also in Canberra, 27. Still showery around Sydney, 26 degrees, and we might see some showers in Brisbane tonight, 33 degrees. A stormy day for Darwin, 32. Around the nation tomorrow, continuing storms around the top end and further into the Northern Territory, right across that northern area of WA, extending further inland as a trough starts to make its way inland through Western Australia. And we're taking more rain across areas of Queensland, mainly through those central parts. A few showers around Sydney again tomorrow as you head for a top of 25 degrees. And in Canberra, 27. Melbourne's top, 20. More showers on the way. Hobart, 17. Partly cloudy day for Adelaide, 24. And it looks like late storms will reach Perth, 35 degrees. Storms in Darwin, 32.
And that's ABC News for now. The next full bulletin on ABC TV is at 5 p.m. I'm Ros Giles. Thanks for watching.